Good morning and welcome to Worship with the Unitarian Universalist Church of Ventura. I'm Worship Associate Sue Brinkmeyer, and I'm joined by fellow Worship Associate Ruth Capelle in facilitating this service today. Our minister, the Reverend Dana Worsnop, is still away on sabbatical, but she will be back with us in the pulpit in just 2 weeks. The Reverend Maddie Sifantus, the settled minister at the Unitarian Universalist Church of Santa Paula, graces us today via video with a homily that I know you are going to enjoy. It's about the truly remarkable works of our great foremother, foremother, and for me, role model, Lydia Mariah Child. So I am so glad all of you streaming into this service from home and all of you good folks here in the sanctuary are joining us today for worship. And I want to thank those of you over on this side for leaving this section for people who are most comfortable being with others who are masked. And I want to share 3 announcements. First, a quick reminder that we're still hoping our capital campaign to build a security fence along our east property line next to the walking biking path will reach our $10,000 goal, and we are less than $1,000 away. You can make a donation of any size at all. All are welcome. You can do that by check or online. Just if you write a check, just write fence in the memo line. Also, please remember that you in the back of Berg Hall today right after the service to get your photo taken if your photo in the directory needs to be updated or if you're not there at all yet. Finally, because Reverend Dana returns to the pulpit on August 13, we are planning a potluck for that day, and we are hoping you will plan to bring your favorite dish to help us celebrate her return in style. Please let Michael Act 7 know what dish you plan to bring. You can get more details about these and any other announcements in our weekly email bulletin, UUCV This Week. Now, bring with you what is yours today. A burdened heart, a joyous song, a wearied spirit, a seeking mind. Bring yourselves to the altar and let us enter sacred space. Okay. Ruth.
Worship Associate Ruth Capelle. We invite those who are Zooming or streaming to light a chalice or candle at home. As Sue lights the chalice of our free faith here in the sanctuary. Our call to worship this morning comes from Carter Haywood. Love is the willingness to participate with others in the healing of a broken world and broken lives. Love is the choice to experience life as a member of the human family, a partner in the dance of life, a lighter of torches of hope. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning. I'm Carolyn Bjerke, the music director, and I want to welcome you all here in the sanctuary and online. Our opening hymn today is Morning Hangs a Signal, and the words are written by an early Unitarian minister from the early 1900s, William Channing Gannett. So please rise in body or spirit and join me in song. The morning hangs a
I'd like to invite all of our young folks and those young at heart to come forward and join us for Time for the Child in all of us up here. Yay! Woohoo! Good morning. So, let's see. Up on our screen, we should be seeing, there we go. That is those are photos of Lydia Mariah Child as a young woman and as she looked in her later life. We're talking about her today in our service because she was a very early member of our faith who led a life that we can all be proud of and that maybe we could even model our own lives on. She accomplished so much in her one life. When she was young, she taught school. She wrote many books for children and even started a children's magazine. She wrote novels, music, and when she was older, she was the first to write books criticizing slavery and inequality in education and jobs for Black people, as well as other books supporting women's rights and the rights of Native Americans. And her books helped other people of the time think differently about doing the right thing. So when I first heard her story, I had to wonder how on earth could one person do so much in her one life? And I thought to myself, perhaps it was because each and every day when she got up, she said, I'm going to be someone who makes a difference, be a maker. And that's why I chose to share with you today the book, Be a Maker, by Katie Howes. There's the cover. The pictures are by Elizabeth Vukovic, and you can see them up on the screen as I read the book. So here we go. Ask yourself a question in the morning when you wake. In a world of possibilities today, what will you make? Make a tower? Make it tall. Make it balance. Make it wobble. Fall. Make a mess. Or make, instead, a universe inside your head. Make a rhythm, drum and pound. Ears. Make out another sound. Make a telescope from your toys. See what's making all that noise. Make a blueprint. Make your way to play outside. Make a spaceship. Take a ride. Make a map to journey's end. On the way, you make a friend. Make a snack and make a spare. Make enough for both to share. Make a plan and make a sign. Have your neighbors make a line. Make a gift of what you make. Make a smile from lemonade. Make a pledge to help some more. Make a floor, a wall, a door. Make a difference. Shine a light. Make your town a team tonight. Ask yourself this question as the sun begins to fade. In a day of making choices, are you proud of what you made? So, there's something to think about today and as you begin each day. And what will you make on this wonderful day? Any thoughts? No. Oh, I hope you'll make something fun and wonderful. And I know Lily has ideas for you back in your lovely RE classes. So let us rise, if you will, face the center aisle and let's form a bridge of love to sing our children out to their RE classes.
We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go. We hold you in our love as you go, as you go. May your heart be at peace as you go. To nurture the spark of your precious life. We hold you in our love as you go.
Each Sunday, this congregation gives away our collection to an organization in the larger community or to funds that help people in our church. Those at home have two ways to give, through the link posted in the chat or by texting from your phone at 844-901-1779. Folks who are present in the sanctuary can text to give, or you can still write a check or give cash. We still take cash. And then drop it in the basket at the back of the sanctuary after the service. As the children heard in their story today, please make a difference. Our offering today goes to CAUSE, the Central Coast Alliance for a Sustainable Economy. The Central Coast Alliance for a Sustainable Economy, to create a thriving Central Coast for us all, including low-wage workers, immigrants, and communities of color. Assemblymember Steve Bennett recently named CAUSE a nonprofit of the year, recognizing its 20-plus years of work strengthening tenant protections, increasing investments in farm workers, improving representation in our cities, and securing environmental protections, even as real estate speculators drive gentrification and displacement in our region, and policies allow pollution to unjustly impact our poorest communities most. CAUSE succeeds in its work through community organizing, leadership development, civic engagement, and advocacy to secure a better future for us all. Donations like this one today, will allow CAUSE to continue, like Lydia Mariah Child, to make changes in our world. They will continue their focus on organizing immigrant and working class families, as well as youth of color, around the issues of affordable housing and tenant rights, immigrant worker dignity, and climate and environmental justice. Thank you for giving generously, as you always do, making a difference. We are so grateful for the generosity of this congregation, which helps us weave the tapestry of love we call community.
We weave that tapestry in part by taking time each week in our service to share the joys and sorrows that grace our lives. We place stones in water for both the celebrations and sorrows in our lives, making ripples that are felt throughout our community. You can submit a joy or sorrow for sharing via a link on the website, UU Ventura This Week, or a link in our Thursday bulletin, UUCV This Week. I invite you now to speak into the gathered community or write into the Zoom chat the names of those you wish to celebrate or memorialize, or those in need of the loving embrace of this beautiful community. Please feel free to continue to add to the chat even after the silent pause has ended. Ruth will now place one final stone into the water for all the joys and sorrows just shared and those still silent in the silent sanctuary of our hearts. May we be truly grateful for all that is our life.
Please remain seated for our meditative hymn, Meditation on Breathing. There's 3 sections. You'll see them on the screen, and we sing each one twice. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out.
We offer a reading in 2 voices, adapted from the book by Margaret Fuller, Woman in the 19th Century.
A new manifestation is at hand. A new hour has come when man and woman may regard one another as brother and sister, able both to appreciate and to prophesy to one another.
A new manifestation is at hand. A new hour has come. What woman needs is not as a woman to act or rule, but as a nature to grow, as an intelligence to discern, as a soul to live freely and unimpeded, to unfold such powers as were given her.
A new manifestation is at hand. A new hour has come. Man does not have his fair share either. His energies are repressed and distorted by the interposition of artificial obstacles.
A new manifestation is at hand. A new hour has come. we would have every arbitrary barrier thrown down. We would have every path laid open to woman as freely as to man. Were this done, we believe a divine energy would pervade nature to a degree unknown in the history of former ages.
A new manifestation is at hand. A new hour has come.
May it be so. I invite you now into a time of meditation. Place your feet upon the floor if you're comfortable doing so. Close your eyes if you wish, and breathe. Let your breath fall into a natural rhythm. Perhaps think back on the words we sang a little while ago. When I breathe in, I'll breathe in peace. When I breathe out, I'll breathe out love. Feel the presence of others around you, breathing in, breathing out. Perhaps let yourself imagine the world you might make as you breathe in peace and breathe out love. Let yourselves imagine the world you all, we all, will make together, as together we breathe in peace and breathe out love. A silent meditation.
I'm the Reverend Maddie Sifantus. I serve the Universalist Unitarian Church of Santa Paula, and I'm very happy to be here with you this morning. I moved here 9 years ago to serve Santa Paula from the East Coast, and was very interested in our history there and bring that interest along with me here. And so we have now come to the main lady of the hour today, a woman who was a household name in America and beyond for over 50 years in the 1800s, one of our foremothers, if you will. She was a woman way ahead of her time who is little known today except for the words that she wrote to a song that is familiar to at least most of us as "Over the River and Through the Woods." You probably remember it. It goes, I'll just sing the beginning of it. Over the river and through the wood to grandfather's house we go. The horse knows the way to carry the sleigh through white and drifted snow. Over the river and through the wood, oh how the wind does blow. It stings the nose and bites the toes as over the ground we go. So more about the woman who wrote that song and many, many other things. Lydia Mariah Child was born on February 11th, 1802 and died on October 20th, 1880. She was a novelist, an editor, a journalist, and a scholar who produced a body of work remarkable for its brilliance, originality, and variety, much of it inspired by a strong sense of justice and the love of freedom. Little known today, in her own time, she was a famously radical abolitionist. But she was also a student of world religions with a breadth of vision and understanding extraordinary for her time. She was lonely religiously, dissatisfied with the institutional church, including the Unitarian Church of her day, and hungry for spiritual nourishment, all the while having a brother, Converse Francis, who was minister of the Unitarian Church in Watertown, Massachusetts. And she attended First Parish in Wayland during her many years of living there. And that church was a stone's throw from where I lived for 39 years before I moved here to Santa Paula. And it was my home church and the church that sent me into the ministry. You may not know it, but girls born when Lydia Mariah was back in 1802 did not have the same opportunities as boys to go to school. In fact, studying for girls was frowned upon. It was thought that girls didn't need to learn academic things. In fact, it was probably dangerous, and they should focus on the home arts, as it was called. But little Lydia Mariah was dying to learn and study. Luckily, her older brother, Converse, who became the Unitarian minister, had lots of books, and he helped her to read them. For a while, when she was a young adult, she moved to Maine to live with a married sister, and she continued to read and to study and to correspond with her brother. And while she was living there in Maine, she visited a nearby Penobscot settlement, beginning her lifelong interest in Native Americans. She moved back to Watertown, and Mariah set to work on a novel, Hobomok, A Tale of Early Times, which came out in 1824. It was the very first historical novel published in the United States. Imagine this for a second. The story was of a colonial New England girl who, when her fiancé was lost at sea, turned for support to a sympathetic Native American, lived with him in his village, and they had a son together. But then her English lover returned, and Hobomok nobly encouraged her to marry her fiancé, who adopted their son. The novel drew on her Maine experience to give an unusually sympathetic picture of Native Americans who were commonly thought of as savages at that time. And though she published this book anonymously, it was very quickly known that Mariah was the author, and she became an instant celebrity. She continued to write novels and stories, and she became editor of something called the Juvenile Miscellany, a new and very popular children's magazine, one of the first of its kind in this young nation. And that is just the tip of the iceberg. She was certainly much more than that happy song inspired by her early childhood in Medford over the river and through the wood, and trips for Thanksgiving to her grandparents who lived across the Mystic River. Lydia Malloy has written a new biography about Child, doing extensive research in my old hometown of Wayland, her birthplace of Medford and beyond. It's a weighty tome, so I won't address all of it, but some reflections are in order. It came out this year, and so I've been reading it because of my interest in the history of our early days. The short story is that Lydia Mariah Child was a complex woman. As I said, she was way ahead of her time, and yet she was a woman of her time. Her childhood made her more introspective than many, perhaps due to losing her mother at a young age and spending more time than many would alone. I think that may have made her more able to imagine stories and fantasies that other young women of the day might not have thought of. She wrote these words, for instance, and I quote her: "Leaf, blossom, blade, hill, valley, stream, the calm, unclouded sky, still mingle music with my dream, as in the days gone by." But whatever fantasies she drew or wrote about, she was motivated even further by the injustices she saw all around her, which you can see is in this next piece of verse that she wrote. "Spirit who waftest me where'er I will, and seest with finer eyes what infants see, feeling all lovely truth, with the wise health of everlasting youth, beyond the motes of bigotry's sick eye, or the blind feel of false philosophy. O Spirit, O Muse of mine, frank and quick-dimpled to all social glee, and yet most sylvan of the earnest nine, oh, take me now and let me stand on some such lovely land where I may feel as I please in dells among the trees." So Mariah, as she preferred to be called, needed to stand beyond what she called bigotry's sick eye, all the while being aware of the lovely land where she could stand on true philosophy, which she was interested in, stand for what she knew in her very bones was true. And even as she was standing for what she thought was right, her imaginings took her far and wide to lands where young children had violet flames on their heads and go on voyages to find what is most meaningful and what would take them outside themselves. That was a story she wrote that was called The Violet Flame. This child with a violet flame on her head. Lydia Mariah's writing career spanned from those children's stories and imaginary tales she wrote to great acclaim, to other highly regarded work like her book, The Frugal Housewife. The Frugal Housewife, which describes her ingenious methods of making do with very little. But even that book was countercultural for her time and her social milieu. The subtitle of that book was "For Those Who Are Not Ashamed of Economy." For those who are not ashamed of economy. Ladies of Boston at that time were supposed to have servants to take care of the household tasks and not read about advice on eradicating cockroaches storing vegetables and the like. Readers in the United States, which you remember were still new at that time, had never seen anything like it, at least not anything written specifically for them. Books tended to come from England. That book made her a household name in the still new country. As she said, citizenship begins in the kitchen. Books like this have usually been written for the wealthy, she said. I have written for the poor. The author Lydia Mullen tells us, and I quote her, even during the period when she was most famous for giving homey domestic advice, there was also evidence that Child's political and religious views were becoming ever more radical. Just months before the Frugal Housewife appeared, she quietly published a book that was called The First Settlers of New England, or Conquest of the Pequods, Narragansett, or Poconakets, as related by a mother to her children. Her stated goal was to show that, in her words, and I quote, the treatment Indians have met with the usurpers of their soil has been and continues to be in direct violation of the religious and civil institutions which we have heretofore so nobly defended. European settlers' behavior, Child warned, is subjecting us to have the finger of scorn pointed at us, she said, for having grossly violated the principles which form the basis of our government. End quote. This is in 1829, and it rings true with a lot of our discussions these days. She was way ahead of her time. But it was the publication of An Appeal in Favor of That Class of Americans Called Africans in 1833 that marked the turning point in her career. This was the first book of its kind then in the first 50 years of this new country. Outspoken in her condemnation of slavery after what she considered to be a conversion experience, she pointed out its contradiction with Christian teachings, described the moral and physical degradation it brought upon slaves, but owners as well, and not accepting the North from its share of responsibility for the system. In fact, she detailed how the North was complicit in that system and how the whole new country was dependent on that system. She says in the introduction, I am fully aware of the unpopularity of the task I have undertaken, but though I expect ridicule and censure, it is not in my nature to fear them. End quote. This work was central to the rest of her life, and she was right in her expectation of ridicule and censure. Her books were burned, and she was threatened. She lost most of her income, which had supported both her and her husband, David. And David was idealistic, but he was quite impractical. But with all of that, it did not keep her from staying true to what she believed. As a couple, she and David suffered through losing everything. David spent 6 months in jail. A separation he tried while he tried to regain some income in Europe, ridiculed by their former society friends, and so much more. Eventually, they moved to Wayland, then a very sleepy town less than 20 miles west of Boston. And from there, she continued to witness national events, fighting slavery in her way with words sent from the Wayland post office, sending tracts far and wide. She was good friends with the mother of Louise May Alcott, and she was friends with the transcendentalists down the way in Concord, especially Margaret Fuller, and is known to have converted Unitarian William Ellery Channing to the anti-slavery cause. We have to say that to be an abolitionist in the 1830s was to be a radical. It meant losing your job, oftentimes your friends, sometimes family members, and in some cases your life. Yet Child was uncompromising. As she said, by publishing this book, I have put my mite in the treasury. The expectation of displeasing all classes has not been unaccompanied with pain, but it has been strongly impressed upon my mind that it was a duty to fulfill this task, and worldly considerations should never stifle the voice of conscience, she said. Indeed, her prophethood speaks to us across the years, and her vision can inspire us today. I highly encourage, if you have time this summer, to read her biography. And on top of this, she was a devoted husband, devoted to her husband, David Child, for the rest of their lives together. I can imagine them in the house that I know well, writing, looking out the windows at the Sudbury River, and remembering her youth in Medford, where she rode over the river and through the woods. I imagine her walking to First Parish to hear the Reverend Edmund Hamilton Sears, who wrote our Christmas carol, It Came Upon the Midnight Clear, and where she was a sometime attendee, realizing that she liked Mr. Sears, as she called him, and the ministers following him. And when she would walk there, she'd walk right by Old North Cemetery, where she is buried, and where I would often walk past the marker at her grave, winding past the old stones and a grassy area nearby, which is marked as the Indian graveyard. It seems fitting to me, for her lifelong interest and activism for the Native Americans and her multifaceted prophethood, to be located near that tract of grass. We remember Lydia Mariah Child and so many others. We remember her from age to age, as in the words of our old hymn. From age to age, how grandly rise the prophet's souls in line. Above the passing centuries, like beacon lights, they shine. May Lydia's beacon light keep shining through us today. May we be the kind of radical that she was for love and justice. And may we never forget those who have shown the way on the path ahead of us for us to take up today. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen.
So there is a UU Foremother to be super proud of. And as we think back on the changes that Lydia Mariah Child sought to bring about in her world, no doubt inspired by her love of justice and freedom and her fellow men and women, let us sing about the world we might make with our love. Please rise in body or spirit as you are able and join in singing our closing hymn, number 1017, Building a New Way.
We are building a new way. We are building a new way. We are building a new way, feeling stronger
Please join me in reading the words on the screen as we prepare to extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment, those we carry into our lives until we are dead again.
That's fine. All of you here in the sanctuary are invited after the service for coffee, tea, bagels, conversation in our community room through those double doors and the single door at the back there. Visitors and guests especially are invited to stop by our connecting table for a chat. Nearby is the welcome table, where a welcome team member will be happy to answer any of your questions about our church or denomination. As we go forth today and wade back into the waters of life, I leave you with some final words adapted from Lydia Maria Child. It has been said that a stone thrown into the sea agitates more or less every drop in that vast expanse of waters. So may it be with the influence we exert on the minds and hearts of others. May our actions and leanings towards justice and compassion for all beings be like that small stone dropped into the vast sea that changes what it touches in ever-widening circles. Blessed be, and may it be so.